Hello everyone, Switch Doppler here. I got decided to do another theater video about Sombra, Celestia, and Luna. This was actually asked me by MLP Red Shadow Brownie. Could you do a theater video about can Sombra be Celestia and Luna's brother? Well, the only thought about that if it's possible that he could be their brother. Well, in fact, since we know that he is a shadow pony, well, it used to be, well, in the comics, he is restored as as genuine unicorn. But in the series on TV, he is actually a shadow pony. But no matter say from all those stories apart is, let's see if, I mean, let's see if there are any possibility that he could have been Celestia and Luna's brother. Let's see from short here. Since we know Celestia is the older sister and Luna is the younger one. But exactly if Sombra were actually their brother, how old would he be? Would he be younger than Luna or older than Luna? Perhaps as a middle child? And if that is true, even if that was actually been asked by some staff and with the Hasbro, they probably would deny it any connection between the sisters and Sombra at all. But even if there were some connections between Sombra and the sisters, well, let's say from one view that some of the fans might say there could be some connection. But in the comics, we know that he was actually a shadow pony made from his own mother, and that his kind was buried beneath the ground, waiting for him to take over. But also he was later turned he was turned into a genuine unicorn with the help of the sisters and the Crystal Heart. But in the series, he was never reformed. So, could he been Celestia and Luna's brother? Well, in an official way, that's probably not as possibility as many things that would say. As if I ask many fans without the same question, if he could have been the brother, they probably say no. He's not. No way he can be their brother because that he is a shadow pony in the series and they are not. And even if that is any remotely close to that, they could have been related, but who knows? But let's say for sure if this were some connection between them all, like even if he was the brother. We cannot say for sure if he is Luna's older or younger brother. Because we would never know, sure. But let's say if he was the older brother of Luna, and that he was probably only a few years, only perhaps say 4 or 5 years older than Luna. So if there were some family connection between the sisters and Sombra, then I would say that would be something interesting as an episode, finding out some very distant old document showing that Sombra is their long lost brother, which would make sense then. I mean, if then this was never revealed in the show, saying that Celestia was studying, or perhaps even Twilight was studying some old books and documents in the restricted area in the Camelot library and finding some old document, perhaps in some sort of family tree of the royal sisters, and finding out the name of the parents, and even perhaps found the strain, how far and exactly how, well, a connection between them and Blue Blood, but also to finding out the parents' names. Instead for only 2 children, but 3. Sombra, Luna, and Celestia, and even showing the names and the date of the year they were born, showing that perhaps that Sombra was only a few years older than Luna. That will be something. I mean, if that was even unofficial in the series itself, that seeing Twilight find out an old family tree record which hasn't been seen by the sisters perhaps for a long time, and perhaps Sombra was somehow born as a unicorn, meanwhile that their sisters was born as alicorn, and that their parents perhaps doesn't try to focus on their daughters and try to teach them about magic, and even that Sombra's proving to be very talented in magic. But also the same, perhaps he was not, perhaps he was in that their parents didn't like him because he was a unicorn, or just saying that he even is proving to be very talented as his old sisters, as his own sisters were. But that is just my own belief that it could happen that perhaps, let's say if Sombra did actually disappear from the family, not by cast out from the family, but just let's say both the entire family were out on a picnic or travel somewhere, and he got lost, and they searched, and as that both the parents had searched for him for days, even had perhaps even some rural guards and even the Wonderbolts to try to search to find the lost son, but searched for days into weeks and found no trace, and that they had to forgot about their son. And even time, perhaps even Luna, perhaps was just only, perhaps if she was only 3 or 4 years old, and perhaps she has no memories of her as having a brother because she was too young to even remember it. But even though we're saying that even Celestia, if she were about maybe 5 or perhaps even 8 years older, if she was about 8 or not 10 years old, she would probably have a lot of memories of her brother. But why would then she never have been mentioned about her brother? Well, what if that both of the parents' loss of their only son was too big for them, so they used some sort of perhaps memory wipeout spell on both sisters to make sure that none of them remembers their brother, and even to put their parents in much sorrow once over again. And that perhaps could have been the reason why none of them even remembers Sombra as being their brother, and including also why there's no records at all, except from perhaps in one old family tree record in the restricted library in the Canterlot Castle Library, which could have been placed there by either their parents, to make sure that even if that they know about, even the sisters know about the library, but they perhaps even don't know exactly what kind of documents the books are in there, because that part of the library can contain a lot of ancient books and even perhaps all the very dangerous spells. So even if that is true, that both the parents have used some sort of memory wiped spell on both sisters to make sure no trace, no memory of their long lost son. But even if Sombra did survive, why didn't he come back to Canterlot? If someone found him at some point later on and he told them who he were and that he had been through, and perhaps he had been returned back to Canterlot, but that would have seen. But even if he did come back to Canterlot, then both parents would have to restore their daughter's memory about their own brother. So even if that Sombra did get lost somewhere on a travel and never came back, what happened to him? There is might be small possibilities and another part of theories that why he didn't come back. Perhaps he was lost somewhere and he was starving and he was found by this mysterious shadow pony who claimed to be his mother and took care of him and perhaps even used some of her own magic to transform him from a unicorn into Shadow Pony and try to and even brainwash him to try to explain that he has always been a Shadow Pony and that she is his mother. I mean, that would make sense. I mean, if you would find out your own mother is the Shadow Pony and that has been brainwashed, and then at some point in history, he actually end up in Crystal Empire, but that is not what could make sense. Because we know that he, in official comic stories about his childhood, he was found by guards outside the Crystal Empire at a time when the Princess Amor was the ruler of the entire empire. But at that time, it was actually 1,000 years ago. And that could actually make sense if you think from that part. That if Sombra actually were found by this so-called his Shadow Pony mother, transform him to Shadow Pony, and then somehow he ends up on the surface, tricked as to be a pony, transformed temporarily, or perhaps in some more stable form as a unicorn, and at some point even he turns back into his Shadow Pony form by the sisters and the Crystal Heart. But why wouldn't at that time, why wouldn't the Crystal Heart turn him back to his original form? That is something that might be so strange, but who knows? We actually don't even know how powerful the Crystal Heart is. So, but even if he was actually lost by his parents in let's say he did get lost, and they tried to find him for days, for weeks, but found no trace of him, and that both parents could not stand to see their sisters, especially their oldest, Celestia, have all the memories about her own brother. Meanwhile, Luna was the only one perhaps has not even had any memories about her own brother because she was younger than him. So, before, and even to make sure that both sisters will never feel the same sorrow as they have, so they wiped out all memories about Sombra from their minds. Which they would explain why none of them had any memories about Sombra being their brother. So if that's true, if this theory could have been official in the series that Sombra got lost by their parents while on a trip somewhere, and that they searched for him but couldn't find him, and that the both parents could not stand seeing their both selves couldn't stand about the sorrow or loss of a child. So they used a spell to wipe out their daughter's memories about Sombra, just to be so they could not feel the same sorrow as they have. And perhaps after the parents have passed away or something, and that both of them never actually still don't even remember anything about their own brother. But if we're going to say if that could have been a theory, at least an official explanation why that, or explain that if they had a brother as being Sombra, I think that part of the theory could have been very explainable and also very plausible. But in an official records here, saying that he is not their brother at all, but couldn't have been their brother as official, I would have actually said yes. It would be amazing to see Sombra being their brother, but at some point perhaps he cannot go and turn that he was lost and he turned evil, and that he turned evil because of this Shadow Pony mother brainwashed him and turned him into Shadow Pony, and some sort of things like that could have happened. But would I say that he could have been a brother? I actually couldn't say yes. But in this case, I might say probably. Even if my theory that could explain why he first was a unicorn, but then back to Shadow Pony, but then later on again as a unicorn. It actually It actually fits perfectly if you say for the timeline, since the timeline where Sombra lives in Crystal Empire was actually the same time when the sisters were still young. It would actually make sense because the Empire vanished for 1,000 years ago, and the story about Sombra's childhood took place 1,000 years ago. So that in the timeline itself fits perfectly. So I could say if that he was lost in some accident, and that this Sombra, the Shadow Pony mother found him, brainwashed him, transformed him into a Shadow Pony to try to make him to believe he has always been a Shadow Pony, and the rest of the story we know. But that could have been an official story if it was actually official. But I would say Sombra to being Celestia and Luna's brother, that would have been an amazing storyline. I mean, for the both sisters finding out they have a brother, a long lost brother, and to be out to be Sombra, that would have been an amazing story in the series before the series ends. I mean, that was all about belief. So, if you have any other thoughts about this video, this theory, let me know in the comment section below. And as always, subscribe, leave a comment, and as always, this is Switch Novel over and out.